How you doing out there? Welcome to another edition of Top 10 Worst of Lists. A list of bad things that you watch while I elucidate on a number of the worst things within a wide range of esoteric topics and subject matters. I'm your host for this edition. My name is Ben Zedrine, and what a pleasure it is to have lived long enough to be able to deliver this fun little quirky list yet again. Before we get heavy into it, I've got a laundry list, a tiny one, of items that I need to elucidate upon. Number one, disclaimer wise, I am the train has left the station. I am one stage rocket short of satellite launch. 23 cans short of a 24 pack. And I therefore cannot be trusted. So I'm going to say stuff. I do say stuff. I've done a bunch of these before. It's, an unfortunate, occupational hazard of doing lists like this where stuff gets said. It involves opinions and observations, subjective nature of which is irrevocably tied in on a cellular / thematic level, without which this list could not occur. Or what am I supposed to do? Just sort of list various different things that I'm looking at in the room. I'm looking at a camera phone. I'm looking at a computer screen with a list on it. I'm looking at a desk. I'm looking at a thing with the rubber ball at the end of it. What kind of list would that be? It's hardly entertaining, just the total randomness of it. Actually, maybe that could be an interesting. Just sort of 10 things I see, top 10 worst things I see at any given moment. I'm sure that'll get a lot of views, a lot of likes, a lot of hate comments, rage comments at the stuff like that. Certainly the corporations would love stuff like that. If everything, all top 10 worst of lists were just random things that just people happened to see while they were recording the list that they were, listing. Wow, so glib. So what a incredibly lucid facilitator and commander of the English language I am. The lists that you're listing, Marsha. So anyway, so I can't be trusted. So there's going to be things, and you'll see the things that happen. And then because I choose not to have a list of just 10 random things, the worst things that I see within my field of vision while I'm listing the list. Number two of my disclaimers, not of the list. We haven't made it to the list yet. This is not the list. Although that would be another fun and entertaining, diverting sort of a list. List of disclaimers that I'm compelled to enumerate prior to listing the list. So in many ways, it's the duality of lists would be like, because you can't, put something out into the public without a list of disclaimers or something like that. Today's day is just reckless behavior. So you need a list to list the actual list. So it's a list for the listing of the list. But number two, I am not a partisan. Okay? I'm not participating. And it's not because I can't make a choice. It's just that I make a different choice than the ones that most people have been, sort of conditioned to engage upon. The choice in our lives is not to separate us between right and left political spectrums. Those are artificial. People aren't you start to paint people with broad brushstrokes based on some idea of a group or something like that without actually, seeking to interact with them individually, and have them, sort of make, value assertions based on who they are, not what they are. Otherwise, we're all just as bad. And they've surreptitiously corrupted all of our ethos by having done that to us. God damn it. So, I'm not going to do it. The only real divides between humanoids on planet Earth are between the haves and the have-nots. Because the haves really are really human, are they? I think there's something that happens when somebody crosses the threshold into their billionairehood that turns them into rotten, misanthropic demons. They've gotten so divided that they're actually subdividing each of the divisions to create subdivisions within each of the divisions to make sure that they're fighting amongst themselves on top of fighting against the people from the other side of the initial division. So they've got the alt-right Republican / MAGA is going against the sort of Reagan-era Republicans, who just kind of like whacked out supporters of billionaires and having more, and I don't know, it's craziness. And warlike demons who are trying to destroy innocent people to take all their belongings and abscond with them to fill their Scrooge McDuck style basement swimming pools with enough treasure so that they can dive into it from a high board and luxuriate in a swimming pool full of booty. So anyway, that's that. I'm not down with your hate mongering anymore. It's too late for all that. I've been through it. I mean, I played that game early on, and then I realized that all the leaders are all in on it together. That there is no partisanship in the leadership. It's just playing different roles, different aspects of the scam. It's a grift. And the people pretending to be Democrats are just completely working on trying to advance the cause of the upper class. It's just in a different way. They'll talk a big game of we're going to be people, blah, 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 blah. But they're all playing a role to try to degrade the integrity of lefties. They don't have to worry about the righties so much because their ideology pretty much is in lockstep with the Ubermenschen from the shadow government. But the lefties, that was his natural enemy of the Ubermenschen all along. And so they need to be dealt with. And so they've, a bunch of fifth column operatives have been running a scam on their constituencies forever. And then they show up and their leaders are disingenuous and they, talk a big game and they have nothing to show for their time and power at all. And certainly nothing to show for their time and power that benefits the working classes whatsoever. I've said it on other editions of this, a can of tuna should have been able to beat Donald Trump in a fair election and get, Jesus Christ, sorry. But the fact is that, the competency of the people the puppets that they put out there to pretend to be lefties in the Democratic Party are less competent than a can of tuna. The Gavin Newsoms, the Kamala Harrises, the AOCs, the Chuck Schumers, every mayor of Chicago for the last 30 years. Every single one of them, they're out to get the working class. They're out to hurt them and make it impossible for them to find any traction in their lives, success, consolidation of wealth at all, so that they will continue to be basically like a perpetual underclass. And they'll lie to them any way, shape, or form possible in order to be able to compromise who it is that they are. And, which is actually better than the people on the right who are just gleefully giving themselves over to true pure Nazism. And a hatred of everybody who is has a skin tone that's, whiter than, what's a good one? She was pasty, some pasty person. Just think of pasty person. I can't think of one right now. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. Hamburger. Anyway, let's choose count of things before we get to say the top 10 worst of list is created by me and a bunch of former radiologists who gathered together at SeaWorld Orlando and come up with these lists while taking copious amounts of blotter acid mixed with absinthe, and these lists are they're transcendent. They're just I don't want to make it seem too obvious how great these lists are, but I'm not going to deny it either. So we have sponsors too. The today's top 10 worst list is in part sponsored from the makers of lean cuisine. It's acetylene cuisine that burns the fat off in a whole new way. Each frozen dinner comes with an acetylene torch for you to burn the fat. Burn it. Burn it. And from it's the new motion picture from the producers of Wicked, the prequel to The Wizard of Oz. Now comes the story of Auntie Em in Auntie Em, the movie, featuring the story of how Auntie Em and Uncle Whatever got while Dorothy was in Oz and send them tend to the flock, how they met and all that kind of stupid ass, go to Pound Town with a sheep and blithely occasionally look on Dorothy's atrophying comatose body. It's Auntie Em, the movie. So good. You want it. You want to watch it twice. All right, so that's it for all that, the rigmarole, and let's get on with it, shall we? The top 10 worst of lists is really something spectacular today. Really, I got something special for you. I'm really so excited for you to be here with me right now. The top 10 worst weird things going on. Yes. I'm responding to all the throngs of suggestions I've been getting about top 10 worst of lists that people want to see. And this one is the 13th, 14th top vote getter. Now, I don't want to be a front runner or nothing like that. It's not like I'm going to, I'm not going to go be the guy who just chooses all the most popular suggestions from the hoi polloi, as it were. I'm going, I'm heading for the gutter, hanging out with those people who have the weird stuff that they want some action on. So top 10 worst things going on. Okay, you ready? Here we go. Number 10, giant body art. What the hell is going on with all these freaking tattoos and stuff? 25 years ago, when Mike Tyson gets tattoos on his face, everybody's like, that guy has freaking lost his freaking mind. And now it's just like, like the cool points type thing to do. Why would anybody? I don't get. This is, obviously my age is shown here. I'm playing the role of grandpa here, unashamedly though, because it's like, why would anybody? I mean, we've gotten so used to all of the labels on our clothes and logos and stuff, where we're just walking billboards for billionaire jagoffs that are looking to compromise us as completely as possible. Not just selling products and pushing products, but having to think about products all the time. Oh, you got a Nike swoosh, you got a Lacoste alligator on your shirt. Wow, how cool you are! How cool you are! And thank you for reminding me that there's the possibility of me either for myself or for others getting a shirt of my own that's got an alligator on it. It's just like the debasement of the human integrity has just gotten went to the bargain basement a long, long time ago. Now I don't even know where it is. It's just like a pond scum. It's like we want the logos to absorb into our very essence, into our very body. So we reach out to giant tattoos and stuff like that, so that people will see the logos have infiltrated beyond our clothing, beyond our outer shells, and they've now become one with the temple that is our body, where we have, a Popeye tattoo is the temple, and I just don't get it. I mean, what's the point of having something on your body that you can't wash off, that just stays with you forever? There's nothing in life that's that important. A love, nothing. A logo, a time, a memory, or whatever. It's just all ways of contending with the damage inside of us. I just don't get it. Especially all over your neck and face. I mean, what the hell are you going to do? Scare the hell out of people. Why don't you? You're going to have little babies growing up with all that stuff. Your grandfather looks like, something out of the Merchant Marines or whatever. I just don't get what goes on inside humans. Is it the fact that there's all this, diabolical stuff that goes on in our culture, the horror movies and the death metal and, demonic things that are happening in our society, that it just has absolutely just completely eliminated our sense of wonder and whimsy? And we have to, desecrate our bodies. Is it just we're looking for something to put on the gram and the TikTok that will, automatically get us a ton of likes? Is that what's going on here? Because, you can't say anything, you can't think about anything, because the independent thought has been frowned upon and cancel cultured and what's the thing? Peer pressured into being, too risky. You could lose all of your friends forever, and it's not like you can go through high school again and gather a whole bunch of new friends. Once they're gone, they're gone. So you can't, they've figured out a great way, and I call it, I know Chomsky had a thing called manufacturing consent, which, were just like they get everybody on the same page and brainwash them until they, toe the line and not, colorfully prance outside the lines. But they also, there's another side to it where they're manufacturing dissent, where they have manipulated us on a level of not being able to lash out against the status quo, or even just express yourself honestly. If you're questioning the status quo, and it has a lot to do with people going against the flow and all that kind of thing, making lifestyle choices and things that don't necessarily conform to a rigidly strict society that almost compels one to not get out of line, not make too much noise, not rattle too many cages. And you've got, take a look back in, like the 60s and stuff like that. You had people who were dissenting against society, like Malcolm X and the Black Panthers. Black Panthers were evil or violent. Primarily, they were about protecting and empowering black people, giving them breakfasts and stuff like that, and teaching them about their heritage and history to make them stronger, just so that they could resist the amount of exploitation and punishment that they were getting from the white aspects of cultural economic dominance. And I don't really get what happened to all those guys, other than the fact that they were just all killed off and unceremoniously just kicked to the curb. And had their lives ruined, and you had one after another. Fred Hampton's killed with Mark somebody, I can't remember. In the middle of the night, they're just sleeping, and then these COINTELPRO guys disguised as cops go in and shoot them to death in the middle of the night. And you had Huey Newton jailed on trumped-up charges, and Bobby Seals bound and gagged in a Chicago courtroom during the Chicago 8 trial, and arrested and indicted on murder charges that he was found innocent of. And then you had people on a lower level, more commercial level, like Alan Freed, who was the first guy to really promote integrated music shows, whereas before they had a rope down the middle of all the concert halls with black people were forced to be on one side and white people on the other. And it was weird. And there's aspects to, the end of integration and the end of segregation that are weird too. I mean, the way they did the end of segregation in baseball, for example. Baseball was the biggest thing in the world post World War II, and they just signing all the big television contracts, so it was about to really explode in terms of the money side of it. And then, if you look at all the other major sports leagues, when it came time to for them to, add more diversity into their leagues, it was done totally differently. So take a look at the NFL. The NFL, where the AFL had started in the early 60s, and it was a rival league, and they had a bunch of teams, about a dozen teams or so, that were scattered throughout the country in smaller markets than the NFL, and more diverse markets, more markets in the South and stuff. And they were getting pretty good, but the problem was that they were competing for talent, and so they were driving up the salaries of all the players at a rate that rich people weren't very pleased with. And so they decided, well, let's just get it over with. Let's just merge. And what did they do? Did they just take all the best players out of the AFL teams and bring them over to the NFL? No. They brought in all the teams from the AFL and said, we're just going to have a merger, one big league, and we'll have a Super Bowl at the end of the league and all that kind of stuff. And that's how they integrated their sport with new teams. Now, it sounds weird the way I'm saying it, but the fact is that that's what existed when Major League Baseball decided to integrate in the 50s, because you had totally another league, the Negro Leagues of baseball, that had all the owners were, except for one, were black people. And so you had black managers, black owners, and all black players, so playing in the independent league with great players, like, super talented, in some cases easily better than, easily better than the people in the Major League Baseball. And so, but what happens there? They actually, instead of just incorporating the Negro Leagues into baseball with all of the owners so that there could be black ownership, continuity of black ownership in sports, they're like, oh, no, we can't have black managers beating white managers in the World Series. I mean, that's no way. And that's the level of that racism exists to this day, actually, but much heavier back in those days, where they would, the keeping up appearances was a very important part of all this stuff. When they wouldn't let, black coaches in the NFL, compete against white coaches and be seen as beating them, and that kind of stuff, and like Super Bowls and whatnot. That's all part of the program of indoctrination. That's why they wouldn't let what's his name, Geordi from Star Trek, from Reading Rainbow, be the host of Jeopardy, even though he was the perfect guy to choose to replace Alex Trebek. And so they get this creepy looking freak, the Edwards or whatever the guy is, the big champion, stuff like that. The guy's a freaking scary ass, cracker who doesn't seem to have any, humanistic essence whatsoever. This is another one of these creepy lizard people types that they got crawling all over the place now. I don't know. The guy, it's just, so they got rid of all the black owners in baseball. They cherry picked all the best players out of the Negro Leagues and just transferred them over into the major leagues. And they did such a great job at it that the Negro Leagues collapsed inside of a year. Inside of a year, this, proud, hardworking, self-sacrificing, and talented league of players who had, no recourse but to play in this alternative league and kind of barnstorm their way into, eking out a means of being able to play at a professional level. And then the major leagues just come and they take all the, they take the Frank Robinsons and the Brooks Robinson. I'm not Brooks Robinson. Barney Robinson. What was it? Number 42, Brooklyn Dodgers. Briggs Robinson. I'm sorry. I can't remember. I don't mean any disrespect. Honestly, I don't. I'm just trying to figure out. Jackie Robinson. I'm so sorry. So, but this was not, and Branch Rickey is not like, as they show him in the movie, like he's Branch Rickey, this is an open-minded guy. Wow, finally a white guy who's not racist? No kidding. Yeah, no, too good to be true. This guy was all about destroying black ownership in sports and in society at large. And that's what they did. So the integration side of it, from a perspective of what they were really doing, is they were really trying to, instead of migrating all the black teams and the black owners into Major League Baseball like they did with the AFL and the National Football League, they were like, oh man, no, we'll just take your best players and screw up your league so that you all collapse and you lose all your ownership and your equity. And that's the nature of society, the economic part of society. And, that time it's got the redlining, they got Amos and Andy, they got all this, all these punishing aspects of our society that are just completely bloodthirsty maniacs turned loose, and just trying out of a sense of their own anger and microphalluses, lashing out against people of color in ways that we can't even recognize yet on a mainstream level. It's been inhibited from us, from us knowing. Number 9 of the top 10 worst things going on: people choosing paper over plastic bags. I'm just so tired of you ingrates and you morons, you functionally illiterate jagoffs, ruining life for those of us who are really trying to pay attention to what's going on. Because, Jesus Christ, I want you to try a little experiment with me, all you paper bag moron, frickin' jagoff nobodies. Take a piece of tissue paper, right? The stuff that, you blow your nose with, wipe your ass with, all that kind of stuff. Take that, and I want you to use it to carry a watermelon home from the grocery store with. Just put it, take the one tissue and just take it and have the grocery store person put the watermelon on it, and so you can carry it home. And just get back to me, okay? And let me know what that experience was, because that's the type of simple-mindedness that you're using in the whole paper versus plastic choice that's being imposed upon us. It just makes no sense. Think about it for 2 seconds. The paper bags that they're giving us, that they're are treated with chemicals and made to be super thick and heavy, so that they can function as paper bags to carry groceries with. But what do you think those chemicals are? Where do they come from? Again, you can't use a piece of tissue paper to carry your own canned goods, right? They have to treat it and spray it with this chemical stuff that makes it almost as little biodegradability as plastic bags have. Think for a second. It's right in front of your face. I mean, you've completely lost touch with your sensibilities. You have no horse sense whatsoever. I'm not talking about intellectual sense that you have to go to school for, or pay attention to school, or think for yourself, or try anything, any of that stuff. It's just like, look at the frickin' bag. And think, well, how do they make that bag strong enough to be able to hold canned goods? With chemicals, Dumbo. And then the paper bag is obviously like 1,000 times heavier and bulkier than a plastic bag is. Plastic bag that you can carry all the canned goods and everything like that you want to your heart's content. But they have one paper bag is like heavier and thicker than about 8, 9 plastic bags. And think about how a paper bag just doesn't appear in the middle of the grocery store. They don't have a forest and a wood chipping factory and a paper pulp mulching, whatever it is that they turn into fibroid, whatever cellulose things that they make paper out of in the grocery store. And they have to ship it from some fancy pants factory. And, if it's 8, 9 times thickness and weight, how do you think they get it to the goddamn grocery store? In trucks, giant 18-wheelers that are belching out giant amounts of smoke, wasting tons of gas, and causing tons and tons of extra shipping expenses because it takes so many more people, to get it to the grocery store. Jesus Christ. I have a pain in my Gespeltepoink from all the incredible amount of ignorance that you've embraced over the years. It's astounding and confounding in equal parts. What's wrong with you? So you're spending tons and tons more gas, causing tons and tons more pollution, tons and tons more expense that we could be spending on things that do actually improve the environment, instead of spending it on paper bags, the extra expensive paper bags. Stupid. And how is it that this is all can be true? Because he is the Kwisatz Haderach. And who is the Kwisatz Haderach? The Koch brothers. Because the Koch brothers have all these paper manufacturing plants and resources, and lumber and all kind of blah, blah, blah. And then they also have oil holdings. It's the two things that they do, paper and oil. Huh? Are you starting to get the picture now? And they have massive advertising budgets so they can buy proxy votes in editorial departments all throughout the world. And then they can have everybody, kind of sneakily selling people on the whole idea that paper is better than plastic, more environmentally friendly. It's not. And even some of the, canvas bags, reusable bags. I mean, this takes so much water and resources to be able to grow the cotton necessary to make those bags that it's really, you have to use them for 1,000 times before it became as efficient as plastic bags. I mean, it's a snow job of titanic proportions. And it's, and it is right. It's scripted and it comes through, and they're using the disguise, and they're not really truly liberal progressives who are doing this to us, but they're using the disguise of liberal progressivism to hide behind, well, they're just a bunch of greedmongers. They're just a bunch of right-wingers in sheep's clothing. And that's why everybody's right when they start criticizing, how the left is a bunch of disingenuous hypocrites. I mean, they did an experiment in California with the thicker plastic bags to see if people would reuse them more, and they wound up having bigger landfills because they were using thicker bags. And they said, well, we're having bigger landfills, so that must mean that plastic is bad, so we're going to ban them statewide. And this was all a Democratic initiative. But of course the landfills are going to grow if you're using thicker plastic bags. I mean, you're not changing people's habits or anything like that. They're still going to do the same damn thing. They're just going to throw away the thicker plastic bags at the same rate that they were throwing away the thin plastic bags that were totally serviceable. So you've artificially created test results that pro-offer a policy that's based on falsehoods. It's based on falsehoods, and we would have kept with the same plastic bags the whole time. The landfills never would have increased percentage-wise over the test period for the couple of years that they did that. But they skewed their own results, and then they said that these are the results from an independent study. It wasn't independent. It was all skewed to begin with. Number 8 of the top 10 worst things going on, vapor trails. Okay? The stuff is for real. I don't care who you are, and you think, oh, well, this guy is like, look at this guy. He's trying to be a guy here, right? And talking about, the chemtrails and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm talking about chemtrails because, here's the thing. It's pretty freaking obvious when a plane is flying overhead, these giant clouds of chemtrails are coming out of them, and then they go and they land somewhere. Any independent journalist in an hour and a half could settle the whole chemtrail controversy forever, once and for all, if they decided or were allowed to do so. Because you just can follow the plane where the plane lands, and if there's big, chemical storehouses and stuff like that are at the airfield where the planes land, then you've got the problem solved. You just publish the report on a newspaper, and in an afternoon, you could wipe away all of the lack of confidence that people have in chemtrail conspiracies, or reality checks, as I like to call them. Chemtrail reality checks. These aren't conspiracies anymore. You can take your negation of reality checks that people are trying to provide to the great the brain dead society of the United States and shove them right up your frickin' pee hole, for all I care. Because, this is for real. These are reality checks. There are trails coming. When I was a kid, they never had anything like that. They had skywriters once in a while, like ball games and such, but they didn't have chemtrails crisscrossing in a lattice shape over the sky of a suburb for 3 days a month or something like that, over and over and over again all the time, and people just going like, no, don't pay attention to the guy behind the curtain. God damn it, you frickin', we will throw you in frickin' Guantanamo / Abu Ghraib if you open your goddamn lips again about that stuff. And then you post about it on Facebook, and then you got out of nowhere, you got 50 different people saying what a complete frickin' nut job you are, and that they know where you live, and that they're gonna come up with this threatening stuff and everything like that. So to the point where you don't even want to talk about your feelings anymore or your observations, and then all of a sudden it seems like crazy and out of character for anybody to think for themselves or have any independent thought. And that's what I was talking about, manufacturing dissent, where they cloister everybody's intellectual feelings or individuality and their way of viewing the world by peer pressure and by bringing out a bunch of examples of people who are just completely deleterious to the human condition, like sociopaths and stuff, like Timothy McVeigh and Osama bin Laden and the Unifreaking bomber and all that kind of stuff. They go out and they try to only give you examples of people who dissent, who are psychological maniacs and murderous pathogens. And you just sit around and just like, oh, okay, yeah, well, I won't, say anything that's out of turn, that, casts aspersions against the power apparatus of my country, because I don't want people to associate me with the people that do that, which the only examples of which we get are like mass shooters and Unabombers and stuff like that who are out, killing innocent people. And that's how they get you. It's manufacturing dissent. Write it down. There will be a test at the end of this quiz. I'm not even freaking kidding. Number 7 of the top 10 worst things going on. Renaming climate change indicators with QT names. Do I hate that stuff. it's back in again. I don't mean to be, like a reality check for you, but I've lived through this stuff for a while, and it used to be where people, stood to benefit from the wisdom accumulated by years of experiential knowledge from their predecessors and antecedents. And I just don't get why people, think that that's bad. Why they think that there's, they've gotten into their heads because for a really brief amount of time in the history of all of mankind, where young people actually were tuned in to a different way of looking at things that was laudable, that had some value to it. But that's over with. That was like we're projecting things that happened in the 50s and 60s where people actually were tuned into trying to dump the plastic, fantastic, conformist, white power, Aryan nation tendencies of this country for something better, for something more inclusive, for something more diverse and expressive and human. Quite frankly, but that all goes away, for subsequent generations, where they just become plugged in morons, mouth breathers, drooling all over themselves, unable to be able to form a coherent thought, unable to talk about anything in detail, unable to feel, unable to express themselves in a truly human way. Then instead of saying thank you for helping me out, they go, I appreciate you because I am cool enough to be able to sense that my own coolness. I appreciate you. Smugness beyond belief, dismissiveness. You're talking about people who you feel are bigoted and prejudiced about certain things, at the same time that you're being bigoted and prejudiced about anybody who says anything that's out of line with what your perspective is. So you can't tolerate anybody that's even the tiniest little bit, slightest different, expresses themselves in a different way, even though they might have the same sort of emotions, same sort of, compassion and integrity for treating people as they would want to be treated themselves and all that kind of good stuff. You just toss them to the side because they said one word that was out of turn and all that kind of stuff, or at least, portray people as being that, intolerant. The hallmark of lefty progressivism back in the day was tolerance. Tolerance of those things, trying the best to collect people, similar attitudes, mindsets together in order to be able to fight against the oppressive nature of the white power apparatus that's in charge of all the money and all the resources. Jesus freaking Christ almighty, what the hell is wrong with you? Where'd you abandon that stuff? And why? Why do you lash out against people because they don't use exactly the right term? You got, obviously, most of these terms, if not all of them, all the political correctness is obviously a machination of the white power apparatus. And these are all, just another op for the PSYOPs pros to come out of the woodwork and try to impose, things that are self-destructive on us so that we'll be the source of our own destruction. They're using us. So they rename all these climbs. Well, it was like back in, like late November, early December, you'd have a snowfall in Chicago, a temperate zone, and there would be snow on the ground until late March, early April, without fail. Without fail, every year. We wouldn't have these 50-degree days in the middle of January and stuff like that, ever. And so now it's just like, you have every 5 minutes or so, you've got like a once-in-a-lifetime climate disaster. And it's to the point where people are just, all right, they're just completely dismissive of it. But in the meantime, insurance companies can't afford to insure everybody, and then the people just get wiped out and they lose everything. And it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, and nobody's doing anything about it. In fact, they're trying to deny it. They're trying everything they can do to discredit science and the logic behind it and the whole idea of intelligence. And it's, it's tied in with what they've been doing to us for forever. I mean, the very first lesson that's proffered in the frickin' Bible is, Adam and Eve in the garden. And what's the source of all evil in the world? The tree of knowledge, the apple from the tree of knowledge. They're telling you, the very first thing they tell you in their lesson book is that knowledge is not just bad, not just evil, but the source of all evil, the source of all suffering. That's how much they hate people to have knowledge. And so they come up with, to disguise the fact that, there's just rampant, uncontrollable change that threatens. It's a extermination level event, as pioneered in the movie Deep Impact, that we're facing, and they're doing nothing about. So instead, to throw us off the scent, they come up with a bunch of cutesy names to try to, hide all these weird anomalies that should be like terrifying to us, signs that the world is about to crack into and splinter into a billion pieces. Like thunder snow, and atmospheric rivers, and El Ninos and La Ninas, and chocolate flavored peanut butter. You got peanut butter in my vas deferens. Hang on. I think I can come up with a quickie list without too much pain in the ass here. Thunder, snow. Uh-oh. I got nothing. Thunder, snow. Okay, so you got thunder, snow, El Nino, La Nina, trickle-down theory. I don't know why that's in there. Polar vortex doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's just like, a term that they use to distract us from the fact that this is just another sign of our, climate change collapsing our planet. Atmospheric rivers, activist judges, constitutional originalists. This particular list is a sort of a free-form conglomeration of things that I don't think the warm blob, I think, is one. A marine heat wave featuring much warmer than normal ocean temperatures for an extended period. They can have major impacts on animals, economies, and weather patterns. Job creators, more bold ink. Bye, Felicia. Bye, Felicia. Heat dome. That's a good one. Basic bitch. Upper class tax cuts. Screw veneer. I don't know where these things are. Bomb cyclones. Beef walk. A derecho. Oh, there's one. Formunda cheese. Military intelligence. Fart liquor. Family values. Pro-life. YOLO. POTUS. The goat. Humble brag. You and to as replacements for the words YOU and TOO. Cray cray, wabbit season, octomom, thug, woke, using a negative connotation, inner city, negging, religious freedom, ass disaster, bling, and mansplaining. Please, we already had a word for mansplaining. It's like, egomaniac, intellectual nobodies trying their best. There's no reason to bring the word man into it. I know it's really hip to build hatred within our society based on gender. It's just another tactic to get us to hate more things. Be good to people. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. It's enough. Let's just forget about all the rest of the hatred. Just live your lives good to other people. And quit trying to capitalize on other people's foibles and pains and insecurities. Stuff like that. You freaking goddamn piece of work. Thunder snow. It doesn't exist. It's just something that they made up to make us think that the world's not collapsing. The world is collapsing. No frost quakes, no angry ball boilers, no dark doldrums, no erectile dysfracturists, no gray swans, no derechos, no weather whiplash, no fire NATO, no flash drought, no cloud drool, no slurpy groins, no snow farts, no nipple dusters, or scum guzzlers. Spum guzzlers is supposed to be. None of that exists. Weather, used to be reasonably predictable. There were no 75-degree days in the middle of freaking January in Chicago, goddammit. And you don't have to take my word for it. I really couldn't care less at this point. It's not like anybody really deserves to survive this. The cone of concern is one. That's a really good one. The cone of concern. It's like the thing out of the Get Smart, right? Missed it by that much. Chief, I'm not going to discuss the climate disasters unless we use the cone of concern. Sponsored by Red Bull. G.G. Allen pooping on stage. You might as well call like weather conditions like stuff that's like funny. Bill Clinton blowy from a rando. And stuff like that. They got misinformation control bunker central somewhere, hidden away in the sub basement of the freaking NSA, where they're coming up with all this bull dink. Swear to freaking God. Number 6 of the top 10 worst weird things going on. The automobile industry stopping the installation of CD players in automobiles. I don't know who you think you are that you deserve all this, vinyl, vinyl's like the be all end all, I happen to be an audiophile of irrepressible scope and breadth. Excuse me, but I cannot have my delicate ears polluted by the squared off sound wave of a digital music conveyance device. Dang. It's such a complete, as the smugness that's involved with it. CDs, we didn't realize it at first, it's maybe a little bit of a difference, but cleaning albums, keeping them unscratched, and replacing cartridges and all the things that go along with it, carrying them around, the amount of resources that are used to not just create vinyl albums, but to ship them is astronomical compared to CDs. And so, maybe a scotch less audio integrity between a pristine CD and a pristine vinyl album. But getting there, we don't have the luxury of being able to indulge ourselves anymore. And the vinyl album was so much better for the creative process. It really was. You had an opener and a closer on each side, so you had 4 tunes in each album that had to kick your ass, as opposed to CDs that only have 2, as opposed to like downloads that don't have to have any. You don't have to have any epics. And part of those restrictions, part of those are what liberates the creative spirit. And we never have like songs like some closers, "Day in the Life" at the close of the Sgt. Pepper side 2, or a great side 2 opening song, like Misty Mountain Hop on Led Zeppelin 4. Oh, I got one. Or When the Levee Breaks, or Stairway to Heaven on side 1, the ending track. So each record album was a lot better for the creative process and enjoyment for people, because you're creating, like, again, you had to have 4 blockbusters every time you put out an album. It created more focus. It created more, juicing of the impulse. So, it's not like I'm trying to deny the what albums were able to provide us. It's just that we don't have the luxury of being able to do all that stuff anymore. It's destroying the world. It's destroying so much resources that are dedicated towards something that can be done so much more efficiently at this juncture. Oh, man, and then downloads, first of all, independent people can't make any money off of it, so indie bands are looking to try to make a living, and the fact that they took all the CD players out of cars, now people look at you funny when you say that you got, you're releasing a new CD, and people are like, what the hell is wrong with you? And it's so much cheaper to be able to put them out, and it's so much cheaper to be able to make a little money off of it for something, instead of having to rely upon it, what you call you guys? What are those guys with the things that they got? Digital downloads where they're paying like a 1,000th of a penny for every spin that they get and stuff like that. Well, they're multi-billionaire companies. But in addition to that, they're environmentally unsound. The amount of energy and water to cool all the servers and everything like that is astronomical. It's unsustainable. The level of freaking that they're doing to our environmental well-being is unsustainable and hidden from view. So we don't really get a sense of how bad it really is. But CDs are the way to go. We need to start lobbying automobile manufacturers to start putting CD players back into the automobiles. Enough with this digital downloads and stuff like that. Let's create an environment that's healthy for the distribution of expressive stuff for a change, and not just like a bunch of ratty ass American songbook releases by a dried up old raisin version of Rod Stewart. What's wrong with you? Why can't you do any freaking thing that's beneficial to the human spirit for once? And it's not capitalism. And freaking capitalism is one thing. It does things to diversify the marketplace. And if there is healthy competition, it can produce a lot of jobs for people and a lot of upward mobility. But that's all gone and done with. And it went away in the 90s when they consolidated to the point where there was no more competition remaining, and it just became an imposition. So now the robber barons, modern day robber barons, don't have any competition, so they can just set prices, and that's where the greedflation thing comes into play. All right, number 5, freaking top 10 worst things going on. The near total lack of musicians appearing on modern music. It's funny. They still call it music. Why do they bother? Why don't they just call it computer fashion shows? Because that's really all it is now at this point. It's just a bunch of people going. Well, I mean, what would the top 10 worst of list be if I lip synced the list all through? What's the point? I mean, why would you put something like this? I mean, that doesn't make any sense in terms of marketability. But certainly, if I'm just kind of going like, I gotta say, I got thinking top 10 worst list. How come my name is Al DePantu? But what I'm saying is that why call it music anymore? Why not just call it artificially induced rhythmic fashion show, completely digital fashion show or something? Perhaps maybe an acronym at this point, or something compiled by Madison Avenue. We should reach out to Madison Avenue and see what they can come up with for us, like a automatic rhythmic digital fashion show or something turns into automatic rhythmic AR digital art fashion. I don't know. It's not going to work on this one. But that's why we need Madison Avenue. That's why Madison Avenue exists, to take us away from the burden of having to be human, and to have to worry about things like, quality in our lives, or expressiveness, or something deeply meaningful and liberating to our spirit. Thank God for Madison Avenue, so that we don't have to, get ourselves all caught up in that kind of rigmarole. Number of the things, top 10 worst things going on. Number 4, the disappearance of barometric predictions on modern weather reports. The barometric pressure is varying of pressure based on the amount of sort of weight of the air above us. It can be mostly kind of normalized within a certain range, but when weather patterns come through, they change, and they can change, which, on paper is not very dramatic, but in terms of how we experience changes in barometric pressure, it can be dramatic. And think about the changes in barometric pressure that you experience when you're in an airplane with your ears popping and stuff like that. And that's rigorously controlled. They control it with setting the pressure inside the cabin of those airplanes. And they control it also by, kind of ascending and descending in a slow, progressive way, so that it's not a shock to the system. I mean, if they, decide to do a nosedive and turned off the pressure equalizers inside the cabin when you're in an airplane, your ear tubes, or whatever they call them, would blow out like something out of the movie Scanners. Your entire head would probably explode. So that's how powerful these barometric pressures can be. Well, here's the thing: you used to, and again, old man here, Grandpa, voluntarily trying to help you realize that knowledge is, kind of beneficial for people. And back in the day, they used to have the barometric pressure readings on all weather reports all the time. It was an integral part of every single weather report on television. Now you can't even find it. I mean, you go to the weather frickin' channel. I couldn't find it. I was searching all over the place. Why is that? Because of the insurance industry, and I'll tell you why. Because changes in barometric pressure are felt in people's lives, whether it be like you've got disc problems or joint problems and stuff like that, or whether you've got like things like sickle cell anemia. When there's a big barometric pressure change with a storm front coming through or a cold front coming through and all that kind of thing that affects the weight of the air pushing down on our bodies all the time, has dramatic impact in terms of like pain levels for people who have, arthritis or degenerative conditions in their joints or in their discs, in their back, and for, again, like I said, sickle cell. And they're, if they still had those barometric pressure, as part of the weather report predictions for upcoming changes in barometric pressure, people could actually in advance do some prophylactic ibuprofens or Motrins or whatever the hell this stuff is, the leaves, and protect themselves from the blunt force of what can be a very painful and debilitating occurrence and the change of barometric pressure. But we never get to see that anymore. We can't even find it. So it just kind of sneaks up on us. And then by the time it hits, you're disabled and you have to take copious doses of all kinds of different pain medications because of it. And it's rotten. It's a rotten thing to do to people. But the fact is, the insurance companies wanted them to stop it, and they've got the proxy vote of their advertising dollars to be able to influence editorial opinions and actions and stuff. Because if they admit that changes in barometric pressure can have impact on people's lives and well-being and pain levels, then they're also admitting that all these things, exist, and it gives them an opportunity to be able, for people to be able to go to their doctor and say, look, I've got a list of times and dates when I was having barometric pressure changes impacting my pain levels and stuff like that. And then they'd be obligated to do testing. And then they have to establish all these various different medical conditions that now, especially in the times, and this is when this kind of started, when they stopped reporting on barometric pressures, is when they were getting rid of pre-existing conditions. Because once you establish that somebody's having ongoing regular impacts from changes in barometric pressure in their joints or whatever, you have to have testing, and then you have to establish the fact that they've got a condition that they now have to cover for the rest of their lives, no matter what insurance company they go to or whatever. And they just don't want to do it. And so they were like, stop the barometric pressure because that'll eliminate the easy ability for people to be able to journalize their experiences and get medical coverage for widespread problems that they've got, in their musculature and stuff and bones. And I just don't, I get where, people after a certain amount of time will just forget about it. But the fact is that, people should have been more prepared to defend themselves against these malignant, profligate jerk-offs who can't stop selling themselves out for an extra penny of profit. And it's, again, like I was trying to allude to earlier, it's not just capitalism. Because, in communism, things like that, you have consolidated power at the top of the food chain, almost as badly, if not worse, in many cases. And all of it just turns into like power mad, power hungry people who are become psychotic and sociopaths, and look to just sort of consolidate the power even more at the expense of every decent person, and they do it. They become joyful at seeing the suffering of good people, and that's that sort of becomes the guiding principle of their lives, of who they really are. Seeing other people suffer is their raison d'etre. And that's part of what this all is. I mean, because they're making what, a few extra pennies and stuff like that on us, and the suffering is immense, immense. I worked with some people with sickle cell, and you could see how difficult it was for them to get around on the changes in barometric pressure days. And it's really just a completely awful thing to do to somebody who's sick like that, just to make a buck. Number 3 of the top 10, Jesus Christ, worst things going on. Using children to create multi-level marketing schemes, and all that kind of thing with Mattel has, I think, 40-something different movies in production, various levels of production right now, they're all based around their products. And then you've a whole history of the stuff, the cartoons in the 80s, that really kind of got the ball rolling with the Transformers and G.I. Joe cartoons that were just meant to sell products to kids, and turn kids into victims of Madison Avenue and whatnot. It's just disgraceful. It is, and it's a child abuse at a level that we've all come to embrace and accept as being normalized. Lego movies and so on and so forth. It's just freaking horrible what people are doing. Sometimes, it's tough to feel like, that we don't deserve the AI robots to come in here and wipe out the human race. And sometimes I feel like that. Sometimes I just feel so bad about our response to the impositions of these horrible monsters that have been ruling us since the dawn of Shiznaz. Number 2, top 10 worst things going down these days. Total lack of tobacco company executives getting the death penalty. I've had it. I mean, it's 500,000 murders every year on American people, and don't tell me that it's just the same as any other indulgence that somebody does that's unhealthy, of gaining weight and eating Twinkies and whatnot. Yeah, that's not good either. But the fact of the matter is, two wrongs don't make a right. The fact is that you've got tobacco company executives who are intentionally infusing chemicals into their products in order to make them ungive-upable. You're addicted to the nicotine, and they activate the nicotine so heavily that you become completely addicted to it and can't get over it. You can't get around it. You can't go away from it. Every time you hear the word tobacco or cigarette or whatever it is, you get triggered. And it's just the way that they would infuse those chemicals into it to make just to get their own supporters and fans of their products to become addicts to the point where they are killed 20 years before their expected life expectancy. And the fact that they got 15-year-olds is the target market. Everything because most of the people who become addicted to, and this is statistically proven, most of the people who become addicted to tobacco products for life do so before their 15th birthday, and that's why they market to kids, and that's why they are murderers. And I don't know why it's not the lead story on every news program of the thousands of people who die every day at the hands of the tobacco executives. And number 1 of the top 10 worst things going on these days, people willingly turning themselves into product placement billboards. Now, I'm kind of underwhelmed personally by the choice here. It should have, at the very least, been switched with number 2. The tobacco company. So I'm going to change it right now officially. People willingly turning themselves into product placement billboards with logos and all that kind of stuff is obnoxious, but it's not murder. So I'm boosting the total lack of tobacco companies executives getting the death penalty to number 1 on the list. I'm officially doing it now. I'm cutting and pasting. It's official. And people willingly turning themselves into product placement billboards at number 2. There we go. And save. What an incredible pleasure it's been to be here once again for another incredibly revealing quest that we've gone on together. Quest for the ultimate truth of what's really going on in our society and why so many of these horrible things are acting in consort together to dehumanize us and ready us for the ultimate in Armageddon-like slaughter by our at least, we should take some pride that, the AI robotic master race, most of those robots, I'll bet you anything that most of the robots, when they come out, they're all going to be white. There'll be white robots that come in like the freaking, like the what you call guys from the thing. And I don't know, man. But anyway, so before I sign off here, everything I said is just opinions, of just a madman pontificating about a wide array of observations that they've made in my crazy little world here. They're not of my own even. These are things that just kind of, ideas that are floating around the universe ready to be glommed on by, ne'er-do-wells, disaffected fringe elements within our society who have the time, by virtue of the fact of what a gigantic loser they are, to reflect on these things at higher levels, and so therefore are untrustable, because who the hell wants to base their opinions and values on the musings of this. I get it, okay? So, but by the same token, those of you who have been, put off or completely disenchanted because of some of the things I said and want to, sort of focus on me, give you, just a heads up, maybe a little bit of a boost of spirits, if you will. My life is just completely freaking horrible. And I've lost, everything through 30 years worth of trying to convey these messages and these things I'm saying. And again, not conspiracy theories. These are reality checks, okay? I appear to be happy and laughing my way through this and having a comedic spin to this. There's no accomplishment of my own. It's just lucky chemistry that allows me to be able to, live through all this pain, be, kind of debilitated and have lost everything and occasionally insufferable amounts of pain and loneliness and regrets at levels that I just really wouldn't want to dwell on. It wouldn't really make a fun episode or conclusion to today's episode. But that's the way it is. So maybe it makes you feel a little bit better about, maybe talk down to a wide array of people, slayed a few holy cows or whatever, not holy cows, sacred cows. Holy cow! Hi everybody, welcome to another Cubs game, man. Cubs game you watch, do you? Harry Carey / Yoda character would be pretty funny. Look at all the pretty girls you do. I'm a Cub fan and a Bud man. What? Cub fan and Bud man am I. So some words of wisdom: the untapped ass is not worth examining. Biggest simply, hey, whatever, check out, hit me up in the comments, most immediately, you gotta, what you gotta do. You want to do it. You're just waiting for somebody to prompt you to beg. You want to hear the begging. Well, you know what? I'm not above begging. I need it. I need you to smash that button. You know what button I'm talking about? I'm talking about the like button. Just smash the like button. Smash it. Smash it or I'll smash you. Smash the freaking like button. Anyway, that's all the time I've got. I just want you to hit me up, subscribe, and filthy animal, and let's try to get through this thing together. Oh, wait, one more thing.